Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I assure you, this is the first time I've ever had to say that tonight. My name is Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Notes Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
Columbia down the way.
And those sound effects that you have just heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, @agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, bro?
Yes. And you can find this here podcast on the Coastal of the Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can find this podcast on your podcast browser place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. You could also find us recording normally each and every Thursday with exceptions like this week's, on the YouTube channel of The Click Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and hit the notification button, please.
Indeed, and of course, normally that would be on 9:30-ish p.m. But we are not recording on Sunday night tonight because we had movie protocol, and Agent_70 has gone to see the highly anticipated movie Spider-Man No Way Home, and he's now going to give us some quick spoiler-free impressions on said movie.
Yeah, seriously. It was definitely a spectacle to watch. It was pretty wild. And without spoiling it, I will say that it is some of the comparisons, at least in terms of the build up and the expectations, in comparison to Endgame, are deserved, but probably not accurate. There are some obvious similarities, but very glaring differences between the two movies. But if you are a fan of Spider-Man, especially the cinematic versions of Spider-Man, I think you will enjoy this movie very much. And even if you're not, there are several redeeming qualities in this movie that will possibly sway your judgment on some of those characters. Again, I'm trying to stay very much spoiler free. I think what I would say is, and hopefully this doesn't crash anybody's computer or get us censored, it is a somewhat long movie. Please be prepared prior to going into the movie. Please go to the bathroom ahead of time, or try not to drink too much, because I had two friends, one on either side of me, have to take bathroom breaks and actually mention it very loudly to us as a group, saying, "I have to go to the bathroom," followed by several expletives, and the rest of us saying, "Oh no!" So and trying to figure out a good time, or try to encourage going to the bathroom when it seemed like it might be a good time to go. So all in all, it is definitely a fun ride. It is a wild ride. You're going to want to watch for several Easter eggs, several references, several jokes, and several pretty serious character scenes and character moments. And while it's never an opportune thing, it's never opportune to, there's never an opportune time to go to the bathroom during a movie that is, in this case, moving along at a pretty rapid clip. Sometimes you have to go, but I would suggest that you go before going into the movie so you can sit through and watch like I did. So that's pretty much my spoiler free review of Spider-Man No Way Home. Please go watch it. And if you have watched it already, please be kind and do not spoil the movie for anyone. I was in a pretty loud Starbucks today, chatting about the movie with some friends, and we definitely did our best to not speak too loudly, through our masks. So we did our best to not spoil the movie for anyone nearby that didn't necessarily want to be spoiled.
Indeed, and I guess and worth noting, for those who may be watching this who may not keep up with the way Marvel movies goes, two end credit scenes, or two end credit scenes.
Yes, stay through the very end of the movie.
Yes, which you would think should be normal by now, but
Right.
it's not.
You'd think it was de rigueur, but then
Exactly.
again, there's the bathroom thing.
Yeah, there was that also, and there's also people that's just like, fuck, I just want the movie. I don't care about the rest of whatever, because like I said, I
Right.
saw that in Eternals. People walked out right after when the credits started going. So
Right. Some people, what it is that some people expect to see that online. That's what it is. They expect to see it leaked online, so they choose not to stay longer.
I suppose
I've
there's some
heard that.
truth to that. Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
that still doesn't make sense, but still that's more sense than probably necessary, I guess. In any case, that is that. Hopefully, soon I will be able to watch it, and then we can have go into it a little bit more, which is probably good for the best because, like I said, it just came out past weekend, and therefore, people are still haven't had a chance to see it even as we're recording on the Sunday night. So, like Agent 70 said, kind of be kind, be also careful if you haven't seen it yet.
Right.
That being the case, I'm looking forward to seeing it. But we're going to move on to our recap that is probably going to be slightly spoilerish of Hawkeye episode 5.
Bro, I'm going to ring the spoiler bell because we are going to touch on spoilers for Hawkeye episode 5, which aired this past week. And we are literally hurtling towards the finale of this Hawkeye series coming in just a scant 3 days this upcoming Wednesday. So I'm going to ring the spoiler bell for Hawkeye, our discussion on Hawkeye episode 5. In 3, 2, 1, spoilers incoming.
So yes, wait, do we even?
Yeah, bro.
Oh, here we
bro,
go.
The blip, bro.
Yes. So this episode 5, is called Ronin, which you would think, given the last couple of episodes, would have been called the last couple of episodes, but we're not. Don't worry about that. Keep on going. We start off with a flashback to one Yelena Belova. From
Girl. We're gonna get to that part. Don't worry.
Yeah. If you luckily we're not recording prior to starting the stream.
Yeah, we have an off the record conversation about this particular scene.
Indeed, and this particular person most specifically, but
yeah.
So it's a cut back to 2018, and basically after Black Widow's movie, excuse me. So if you've seen the Black Widow movie, you kind of know what happens there. If you haven't, then this is going to be spoilers a little bit for that also. But at the end of that movie, Yelena is basically tasked with freeing the rest of the ladies under the control of the whatever widow programs subjugation, I guess, for lack of a better word, protocols, and so Yelena and this other widow was going to this one very nice house, thinking to free another person who apparently did not need to be freed because they were, I guess, already freed. I assumed.
Yeah, they were there of their own free will. They weren't under any sort of Black Widow conditioning.
Right. So, and cut real quick to some talk between them. There's a reference to Sex and the City. And also at the same time, so this is like after the events of Black Widow, which means that Natasha herself was pretty much going headlong into after Civil War. Wait, yes, she's basically freeing Cap and them. Wait, no, that's anyway. She was going to help Cap and them at the time. We do know that, so it was kind of around that part, around that time. Yelena goes to the bathroom. She gets blipped. And we get to see this right out of, or as she's washing her hands or whatever the case may be, and the world around her kind of changes as she comes back into 5 years later.
Right. So this is just hold on to that thought. This is the second time we've seen this happen to a character during the Disney Plus television show era. You know, the first time being Monica Rambeau. And it was an interesting twist on that because what happens to Monica is she's basically staying in place, and in this case we actually see Yelena doing something and immediately getting interrupted while doing it because she's subject to the blip, and this answers a question that a lot of us had at the end of Black Widow.
Yes. Yeah,
especially during the end credit scene.
Exactly. Yeah, like where was she all that time?
Right. Right. And ultimately this phase of the MCU is still going to be dealing with the aftermath of the blip for some time.
Yeah, and I'm sure that some other instances will probably be some other characters introduced or by way of the blip or something.
Right. And I sympathize with some people who complain that yes, we know about the blip. It's the blip. It's going to be, I think, it's going to be a very catalytic force in the MCU for stories, for a long time to come still.
True. That is
so true. I'm sorry to interrupt. I hope you still have you're going through somewhat of a chronological summary. So go ahead.
And I'm still trying to keep it brief, but that part is slightly important for some stuff later on. In a way, but actually that's kind of one of the important things. Because like I said, that was kind of one of the things on my mind. Regardless, we cut to Kate Bishop going home to her mom, being bruised, kind of bruised after the events of the last episode with Clint and Yelena and Maya, and she's obviously kind of beaten down, and her mom Eleanor kind of tries to console her in probably the best way she knows how, knowing Eleanor, but who we still don't know the full thing on, but we do know based on the events of this thing, she's into some bad stuff, which we kind of knew. So Kate lets her mom know that her partnership with Clinton's done, and she's and they talk, and this is, like I said, mom tries to console her. She tells her mom about Jack Duquesne, that the what we found out from the last episode about him being the CEO of this one shell company and possibly in line with the tracksuits. Eleanor says she's going to look into it, and then we come to find out that I guess a little bit later on that this part I'm still kind of curious about. Eleanor calls the cops who we've seen, a couple of cops who we've seen in the show, and presumably Jack is arrested, but we don't necessarily know if that's like a real thing or more likely a front.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I definitely do. That doesn't seem like everything is on the up and up in that particular scene, or there's something more. There's definitely something more to that particular scene, I think. So, but yeah. So basically, I think you mentioned this, although I was zoning out just a touch. That that Kate talks about this shell company, and that particular shell company may come back in the next, in the last episode. We'll see how that relates to the other characters. Meanwhile, Kazi and Maya are cleaning themselves up too,
Mm-hmm.
and Kazi's tending to Maya, to an injury Maya suffered, and again, Kazi's trying to get her to get off this whole, get Ronin hunt, but at the end of the day, Maya does win out, and they're trying to move forward with the Ronin hunt.
Yep. Yeah, he relents because it seemed like there's some feelings there, but as we will come to find out later on, that not everything is right in that relationship either. So cut back to Kate Bishop going back to her old apartment, which was burnt down. I thought for like 30 seconds, I thought it got fixed, but apparently not. Because she was walking in and was like, yeah, there was some stuff kind of scattered around the ground, but I figured that was just a place. She gets so Yelena Belova pops in for a little chat.
Well, she's already what she discovers is that Yelena's broken in.
Right. Well, I kind of wonder because I was like, that window was broken the other episode. I don't know.
It was open.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was like, well, we know that's the way she got out. So assumably that's the same broken window. But you're probably also right. Also, like it was already broken, so maybe it was broken a little bit more so she could get in. Since it was already burnt out. So anyway, they talk. Yelena Belova is still probably one of my, or at least this iteration of, MCU. Yelena Belova, probably one of my top 3 favorite characters so far. We can go without going too far in the go far. Anyway,
listen, Florence Pugh plays her so well, and it seems like she's having fun.
Yes,
playing her, and it is evident. But let's not forget, Roddykat, what it is they are having their conversation over.
Yes, macaroni.
It's boxed macaroni and cheese. Yes. Did you know it's delicious?
Yes, because as we found out in the beginning of Black Widow, that is one of Yelena's favorite dishes. And apparently sriracha sauce, because holy hell, she kind of goes through a bottle sort of. But anyway, like I said, she and Kate, and I've seen people online talking about they would love to see a Yelena and Kate kind of a buddy mover or something, or them kind of teaming up or something, which actually made me think about it. Cause a tweet that I said earlier was like, I would have loved to see like a live action Marvel team up with the MCU characters, but I know how expensive and probably hard to put together that would be.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, I would have loved to have seen it. So they're basically talking about Clint from 2 different sides. We find out, we get confirmation that Yelena's come to kill Clint. She doesn't say by who, but they have a little tete-a-tete about how good Clint is and how well each other knows him, and and the revelation to Kate that Yelena is Natasha's sister, to which we know she's basically a play sister, not an actual sister, but still. But that whole conversation between them, even in the beginning, and like I said, with Yelena, just being a great character, and as she is played by Florence Pugh, is just done quite well, So that happens, and then but what happened? Oh yeah, Yelena leaves, thanks her for the girls' night, and then just skeets out the window that she came in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, next up, we kind of catch up with Clint Barton himself.
Mm-hmm.
Clint, now that he's called off the erstwhile partnership with Kate Bishop, finds himself at Grills's apartment. Over pizza, they basically chat for a little while, but Clint passes out on the couch. Ultimately, Clint heads to, believe it or not, there's a small plaque, a memorial plaque for the Battle of New York that's at Grand Central Station on 42nd Street, which is essentially the site where the Avengers first assemble, where they have, it's the site of that. It's outside of Grand Central. It's the Park Avenue overpass where that first turnaround shot in the first Avengers movie takes place. and that is roughly where that plaque is placed. And at that point, Clint is trying to come to a reckoning with Natasha and her memory. And at the end of the day, after that, uh, Clint has a phone call with his wife Laura, and as a result of their phone call, basically, uh, Clint with Laura's at Laura's behest and with her blessing is sent to end this.
So, and in this conversation, I feel like if it wasn't clear that Laura was a part of the life prior to when we see her or when we meet her, I feel like it still becomes more clear. Like obviously the clues were already there in the last couple of
Right.
episodes, so she definitely. I still convinced she was probably just a Shield agent. I know there are theories saying that she could have been a Mockingbird, like kind of like the Black
Right.
Widow program.
Right.
I'm still not ready to accept that one, but I feel like that's slightly better than her being the Mockingbird.
Right. That is definitely a possibility. I think at the very least, she was probably Hawkeye's handler. The person who gave missions to, like at least indirectly handled Hawkeye on his missions, and he fell for her. Whether or not she's codenamed Mockingbird, we'll see. But that's the way I see it. She's most definitely ex-Shield. Based on the conversations we've been privy to between herself and Hawkeye. So everything's on the table. I have a feeling we're definitely going to find out in the next episode.
Definitely. Cut to probably one of the other better scenes in this particular episode is that we see two tracksuit bros in a truck riding down the street, bumping Christmas in Hollis by Run DMC. Christmas classic, obviously, thanks to in its own right, but also thanks to Die Hard.
Right.
So they're bumping and talking about tracksuits. They bring up the Royal Tenenbaums, which sure, that's definitely another tracksuit reference. Before it being interrupted by an arrow through the window with a message for Maya Lopez, from Clint, telling her to meet him at the place where she first met Ronin, and come alone, which he doesn't do. And I believe it does cut to later on after that, and to where they meet, and then there's a whole Batman scene, as some people were calling it, where Ronin supposedly dragging all the other tracksuit mafia bros under cars and just basically getting rid of folks, starting with Kazi, who's taking over Overwatch.
Right. So at this point in the story, Clint has taken on the Ronin costume and basically gone to confront Maya. And as Roddy mentioned, we see how different Clint's tactics are when he's Ronin as opposed to when he's necessarily Hawkeye. Right? They're obviously related skill sets, but we see how different their tactics can be. I would say that it's probably, we've probably come to treat Hawkeye somewhat unfairly as like the weakest fighter amongst the Avengers lineup, as fair as that assessment probably is when you have Black Widow, Captain America, and Black Panther, kind of on the roster, in terms of like hand-to-hand combatants, right? So, but at the same time, for the most part, when we see Hawkeye, let's say going at Black Widow or going at Black Panther, he's pulling his punches. In this case, he is not pulling his punches against the Tracksuit Mafia. And obviously they're not on his level, but he's outnumbered, so he can't afford to pull his punches. So you see him go through them like a hot knife through butter.
Right. And to your point, like, yeah, he kind of does, because like I said, we just most times we see him shooting bow and arrow and take that for what it is, but he is a shield trained a shield trained, he's called a weapon, right.
Yeah.
So his shield training plus his archery training makes it quite deadly. obviously he and Natasha goes toe to toe because of similar training. We all know those of us who know from the comics, she's definitely way better than him, but still, and I
Right.
think at some points have given him some training.
Right. Well, the comics are different. That's the kicker.
I know, but still, point being, some of that still slightly translates. Like they have similar trainings to where they could kind of go toe to toe with each other even if they weren't going even if they weren't pulling punches.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. I was about to say, you got next.
So they fight excuse me, I think Maya gets the upper hand, but then gets stopped by Kate, who's kind of up on the roof because she's kind of come back into the plane after an early pity party and getting herself back together. She shows up to kind of knock whatever weapon out of I guess the Ronin sword out of Maya's hand. Clint gets the overhand, basically tells her, "Look, I'm not the I was there because he was told to be there when her father got killed," which leads her to start questioning things coming past this. But she gets away, and they get away in an Uber, which I guess you say is a stalemate. And they're talking in the car. Kate tells her about Yelena, which apparently Clint knows about, which makes some sense. At some point you would think they would have talked about her as close as they were.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he's probably never seen her, so he was like, okay, that's her.
You know what? You know when that happened?
What happened?
That conversation about Yelena.
Yeah, in the car.
I bet you it happened. Okay. No, I bet no. I'm. This is conjecture on my part.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Go for it.
It probably happened in space before Vormir.
They did happen to have time, yeah. But at the same time, it could have. But I mean, as long as they've known each other at some point.
No, but at the end of the day, she probably had that time to talk about it because that was post the Black Widow movie.
True. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Put it that way, because that was definitely a long trip. But I could also see it to where they've known each other long enough. Like he knew.
I mean, it could happen. No, but the point is, it could. Well, like considering that the events of Black Widow happened before Infinity War, right? So it could have happened then,
right?
It definitely could have happened then. But I think it's logical that it would have happened during Endgame.
Yeah, or it could have happened well before that. Because like that, it's not like Nat knew about his family. So it's not necessarily without and has known for quite some time. Like she was the only other person outside of Clint, who didn't know. So it's not outside of realm possibilities that she could have known well before now, basically. So we don't even know.
I mean, I just find it unlikely that she would go into her childhood because that was the last time she saw Yelena.
Yeah, possibly. Right.
But, so I think that
they are close.
In terms of right. No, but in terms of thinking about the way the story's been told so far, it feels like that's when she found out about her. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it didn't surprise me that he knew because immediately my mind said, "Oh, they did have that little space trip by themselves."
Right. Basically, the bottom line is we know at some point they definitely talked about it.
Yeah. So back to the story. So did we get to the part where so Kate basically disarms Maya because Maya gets the upper hand, but it's really only because Clint's trying to convince her that he's telling the truth.
Yeah, we're past that point. Yeah,
No, I got that, but there is a point where Maya confronts Kazi about the circumstances.
Right. And this is exactly.
And that's where what's that?
Yeah, no, you're right. Exactly. That's the part where we're at.
Right. And that is where we leave off. And I will leave it to Roddykat to finish off this episode with the big reveal.
Yeah, so there's not really much else. Kate and Clint go back to Grills' apartment where Grills taught Pizza Dog a trick. They're sitting at the table trying to clean up or whatever the case may be. Basically, Kate gets a text from presumably Yelena telling her who hired her. Now, granted, the little back of this. Now we already know there's somebody else behind the scenes thanks to the end credit scene of Black Widow movie, but we don't
Right.
get into that right now. We kind of find out that Eleanor, Kate's mom, hired Yelena, and Yelena sends her, who had been following Eleanor in a scene prior to this, by the way, sends Kate a picture of Eleanor and one other figure that most folks been waiting to see. One, Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. And Kate shows Clint, and and that pretty much and he pretty much ends off saying Kingpin, and that ends the show. Or ends the episode rather.
It is the man behind the Fat Man cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. If that all in other clues weren't apparent in this show, then that's what it is. So yes, so most theories, most if not all theories about that being the case, and also adding more credence to another character coming into the MCU has now been confirmed.
Right.
At the end of this episode. So the next and last episode should get a little bit more into the Kingpin's character. I saw Vincent D'Onofrio. Unfortunately, this was a slight spoiler because I had not seen the episode at the time. But he tweeted, a picture of the Hawkeye logo that's at the end of the episode, and captioned it with "When I was a boy," which if people remember from Daredevil, he started out a pretty intense scene. If at least I think that was that scene anyway, to where he starts off with that telling a story. So yeah, the Kingpin confirmed, and if folks who don't know, the Kingpin and Maya Lopez have history, to which this particular episode kind of sets up. Because like I said, she starts having doubts, and she went to, I think we did, I can't remember if we talked about that part. She talks to Kazi again, asking him why he wasn't at the meeting when her dad got killed, and he was like, I don't know, I wasn't told, it was this and that and the other. But it seems like, yeah, he's, seems like he knows more about it than he's letting on, which I feel like he's probably the one that killed her dad.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because of the Kingpin told her to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems like. But like I said, that's pretty much it. It was a great episode, and like I said, the reveal being what it was, and people were like, "Yes, so this means that possibly Daredevil could be in the MCU next." Coming up at some point, we'll see. Maybe in She-Hulk. Who knows? I suspect if there was another way for him to come in, would be the movie that just came out, which again, no spoilers either one way or the other. So, but there's that. So that is Hawkeye episode 5. Like I said, the next episode will be in the next few days after this recording. And the last one of that, and I kind of can't wait. I wonder if they're gonna extend that episode a little bit. Like when it's gonna be longer than the.
Yes, that is my understanding, that it's roughly an hour.
Okay, like a clean hour.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, so I am looking forward to that. You got any thoughts before we move on?
No, just hoping that they are able to nail the landing.
Yeah, there's always a thing, and obviously we know that Maya Lopez Echo is getting a show, so I assume some stuff with them that doesn't get tied up here is going to go into that.
Right, they'll set it up.
Yes.
What I would say is, more so than even Cap and the Winter and the Winter Soldier TV Disney Plus show, this is proven to be the most solid entry because it is so grounded.
Yes.
It's actually something that plays a little bit more like an action adventure show because there aren't any extra really fancy powers running around.
Yep. Yeah, indeed. And yes, there's a couple of liberties. Like for the most part, they've been taken from the My Life as a Weapon, the Hawkeye, the Fraction Aja series that's borrowing heavily from, but also kind of taking some liberties because of the whole Maya Lopez Kingpin connection. Although there was a connection in that book anyway, because the Kingpin was, attached to the Tracksuit Mafia, so it's not far off. It's just that the whole Echo thing kind of got lumped in the series for that. So Good stuff. All right, now we are going to go into the comic books of the week. Starting off with Amazing Spider-Man number 81.
Number 81. I'm pulling up my sheet now.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing Spider-Man number 81 is written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Carlos Gomez, colors by Brian Valenza, and letters by our favorite Paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this particular confrontation has been set up over the past issue or two of each of both the Amazing Spider-Man and the Miles Morales Spider-Man books. In this issue, we have kind of a rando creature character that is busting up Brooklyn, and the Beyond Corporation is sending in stupid Ben Reilly on a mission to try to get some good PR, and they warn him ahead of time there is a very high probability that on this mission he will encounter Miles Morales, who to them is bootleg Spider-Man, when that is the pot calling the kettle black, and he is asked and tasked with enforcing and protecting the intellectual property of the Beyond Corporation, which just made me laugh. It is all very legalese and legalistic. We unfortunately have a little stop in with Ben and was that Janine? Like
yes.
ex-con Janine?
Yes.
So yeah, I don't really care about these characters. I'm just tolerating them poorly at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Reilly makes his way into Brooklyn, he makes his way all the way into Bed-Stuy somehow,
Mm-hmm.
and finds that he is ill prepared to deal with the friendly neighborhood part of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, because it is not on his assignment sheet from the Beyond Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
When Miles bounds in, and their differences, make for easy fodder for combat,
as things tend to do. Which, like I said, this is it's a comic book favorite thing to do. Two opposing forces who, well, we know they've met before,
right?
But that doesn't come out until like halfway in here after the fight has already happened. But again, that's a very comic booky superhero thing to do. It's like, oh shoot, we got beef. So we knew a fight was going to happen, but it, like I said, it didn't last long. They threw in the line and said, "Oh yeah, we met before," and then they didn't, and they teamed up, and I guess come to some sort of an understanding. To a point as they're fighting, but we also come to find out that the thing that they're fighting has something to do with a Miles Morales villain, which basically cuts to the next the next comic book that we were about to talk about.
Right. So, it does relate back to kind of a fraught period in Miles's recent history.
Mm-hmm.
I would also add that there is a mysterious solution referred to. I can't make out what's in that containment unit that that lady from the Beyond Corporation is handling, and when they're talking about the Dr. Octopus problem that happened in the Beyonce issue with Aunt May.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a
Maxine. Yeah,
I think that's a piece of that thing that they were fighting.
Is it?
I believe so. I don't know that for sure because I couldn't make it out at first. I'm like, that kind of seemed like it could be, but at the same time, but it does look kind of weird that it might not be. But I feel like that's probably what it is. But and as we will see with Miles's book, which I guess we can go ahead and get into.
Yes.
You
Yes. Yeah, I will get the creative team out of the way and hand it over to you. Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 33 is 33. Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 33 is also written by Saladin Ahmed, with art in this book by Michelle Bandini, colors by Eric Arciniega, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. Take it away, Roddykat.
Yes. So as we find out, like I said, this is coming off of Spidey's book. We're going to find out that Miles also gets a piece of this monster, or this thing that they had fought, that he and Ben had fought in the issue we just talked about. He takes it to Gonki, and they're kind of talking about it, and that, and the fact that they basically bring up Ben, they bring up this thing, and they find, and they was like, and kind of gets Gonki up to speed. It's like, yeah, this is from the Excessor, who he obviously, Gonki, his best friend, already knows about. So, and Gonki's like, you all right? Because we know this is, that was a problem for you. Not that far, and it hasn't been that long ago. By the way, this is only in real time. In real time, it's also been a couple months ago. But in the comic book, I'm not sure how long ago, but it's definitely still hadn't been that long, regardless. So they talk about it like, yeah, we're cool. So I suspect this piece of thing is probably going to come up again for another character that shows up, because from this piece of thing they find out, and I guess and also the events from Amazing Spider-Man, they kind of know where the Excessor is. So he goes to talk to Shift, which is a clone of his. I think that's the only clone that's still around, if I'm not mistaken. Because we're not sure if that other one that made it. Well, I guess that other one did kind of make it, didn't it? We just don't know where it went to. So, because one clone got killed, and the other one presumably
the head bad guy clone, right? The spider-looking clone, right? Yeah.
Right. Presumably he got killed, but we don't know. He might still be around. We don't know. And then there's this other one, Shift. So they both go after they basically assault this place looking for the Excessor. They fight a whole bunch of guards, and at the end of it, they come to find out this place is being cloaked by a hologram. That I guess they'll infiltrate next issue. So that's pretty much the long and the short of that. There was also a little backup story. I don't know if you read that with Shift. And other thing like that. I don't think it has little to do with the main story, but it was cute.
Right. I would just say that I'm not a fan of this new Miles costume. I think already there. You know what's funny about it is I actually don't mind the upper. It's the lower that bothers me. That leg pattern is just annoying looking. I don't mind the jacket and the hoodie thing. I like that it's a little on the baggy side.
Right.
But the pants combo, that's not cool.
I've had issues with it since it came about, and we've talked about it here on the show, so I'm not even gonna go back into it. But I don't know, just at this point, especially coming off of watching Hawkeye, it just feels like a tracksuit with a mask on it.
I think my biggest problem is that this is the first time I've seen the bottom leggings part drawn in this kind of detail from the back and the side. And seeing what the web pattern looks like, I am not a fan of that at all.
Right. Oh, I forgot. There was one other thing about this issue I forgot to mention. Like it looks like Gonki and Miles is talking, and I was thinking to myself, the worst supervillain ever given birth. Legal jargon.
Yeah.
Because they talk about the whole legal thing. So
exactly. All right. So President Bartlett.
What's next?
What is next? I guess we can go into one of my favorite books, and probably one of probably one of Age of 70s also, Strange Academy number 14.
Sure. Strange Academy number 14 is written by Scotty Young with art by Humberto Ramos, colors by Edgar Delgado, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowell. So this is a very interesting issue, and I will trade. Roddykat and I will alternate talking about this issue because there are some seriously interesting developments that come about in this issue. Firstly, we have a foray into, believe it or not, the Age of Apocalypse timeline. And we're messing with time here. This is straight out of Endgame, talk about messing with time. There's no time stone involved. This is, after all, the 616 Marvel universe, and sorcerers have the ability to travel through time here. And one of the things that the kids at the Strange Academy are being taught is to travel through time judiciously and to use that ability judiciously. Doctor
Voodoo.
Yeah, I was about to say, I wanted to say Dr. Jericho Drum.
Well, yeah, sure, same. Yeah.
But Dr. Voodoo is leading this particular course, and while some of his classmates are struggling with it, it looks like Doyle Dormammu succeeds. And I will hand it off to Roddykat and to let us know what happens next.
So first of all, I question the the potential irresponsibility of teaching kids to travel through time magically or otherwise
On their own,
Yes.
without chaperone.
Yes. So I'm sitting here because even before the whole door thing, I was like, okay, this can't go well. Like teaching them about it is one thing, fine. Showing them how to do it, that is irresponsible. I get it. There's a reason for like, hey, if you know the good, you did the bad, blah, 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 but that still like this will not go well. Anyway, so the kids do their own little solo trips, but the only one we get to actually see is Doyle taking a trip into his own. I think I called it Days of Future Unpleasant,
right?
For him, because we already know Doyle. There's a prophecy that Doyle's kind of weighed upon because of his relationship to his dad Dormammu. Long story short, he goes into the future where apparently that potentially could come true. And he finds out some stuff that he wasn't too crazy about, like he's going against his former classmates at the site of the Strange Academy, and he wants to basically change the future, but he gets yanked back by Dr. Voodoo before he has a chance to do the thing. But he's still kind of feeling about it, so we probably hadn't seen the end of that. And then the other part of this issue, we cut to Calvin, the formerly magic user, who's trying to get his magic back. And we already saw at the events of last issue that he kind of doesn't care how he does it, because he's talking to Zelma Stanton, and she kind of gives him like, here's my journal. I didn't have magic, but here's how I learned, and gave him a book about it. But he's like, just like kids kind of want to do, shortcut some stuff. So he kind of goes into town and and kind of finds this local myth, which not a myth, person named Gaslight, who I believe probably, if you've seen The Princess and the Frog, may have something to do with the character that's there. But regardless, don't worry about that. And a wish is granted.
I was about to say this gas lamp. I'm sorry. This gas lamp character is actually related to the zombie girl characters. Is Zoe?
Right.
So there is a little bit of interconnectivity here, especially in the locale of New Orleans. Mm-hmm. So
yes, and we saw that
is. Right, I was about to say that is proving to be a very integral part of the Strange Academy story. Mm-hmm. I also wanted to mention very briefly, and these are pretty mild spoilers because this is a possible future, but it seems like there is a rift caused in the class, in the Strange Academy class, where people are choosing sides.
Right, kind of like I did mention there was a Civil War aspect in my notes. Basically, Days of Future Unpleasant Civil War type of situation going on there. So yes,
it's just a scene. It's literally just a panel, but I think we're meant to understand that there is a rift that is caused, and some people choose one side and some people choose the other.
Right. Yeah. I kind of slightly alluded to that, I think, when I said that, but when I said something, but yeah, so that's pretty much that. And then, like I said, the other side of this is Calvin trying to get his magic back, and going against everybody who told them not to find this character from last issue. But of course, being hard-headed and wanting his magic back, there is that. So he's given a wish. He's been granted that, and he's I guess he started using it. And of course, just like any other drug dealer, the first hit is for free, and obviously is going to come up a little bit more in the next issues.
Of course. I thought one of the best and funniest parts of this issue was the like end notes in this issue for the class, for the Strange Academy class, where the Strange Academy has a note for the time travel advisory effective for all time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hysterical because, you know, if you're time traveling or time hopping, you must adhere to the following time/timeline travel restrictions and avoid these particular realities. 2099, but the year 2100 is A-okay. Days of Future Past is effective immediately, is basically off limits immediately for all mutant students. 1602 is off limits because it's Neil Gaiman. Zombies, except for Zoe Laveau. Age of Apocalypse. I'm sorry?
Because she's a zombie.
Right. Age of Apocalypse, except for faculty / sorcerer chaperone. House of M, just no.
Just and no. Don't ask. Yeah, and don't ask Scarlet Witch.
Exactly. The next one's my favorite. Also, Amalgam. Amalgam.
Yeah. Yes.
When have you seen that word, that reality referred to in the Marvel Universe?
Right.
And the caption says it all. Whose idea was this?
I laughed. I audibly laughed so hard about that one.
That was so awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah. And then, which it was in the next one, I believe, which was a pretty big dig, the Ultimate.
Right.
We don't even know if this actually exists or not, or has it ever existed or not.
Exactly. But that Amalgam one had me crying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that, and they've had some really good pages along those lines after the story, but that one was pretty good just for being what it was.
Oh my god, I'm still kind of remembering, you know, like kind of like I was sitting here at my computer just reading. And when I saw the word amalgam and the caption, I lost it. I couldn't believe they went for it. And it's just, you know, it's just kind of, you know, it's not an in-story thing, but it kind of is, because these, you know, these notes are, you know, they might be referred back to at some point. Yeah. But I just got a kick out of that. That was just a great addition.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, whether we will see anything else coming from, I doubt it. But like I said, that right there was great enough, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna put it right here. Again, Strange Academy. You know, you don't necessarily have to be like a full-fledged like Marvel head to enjoy this book. Like, yeah, if you're a fan of Harry Potter, you might enjoy this. You know, there's some affinity there. But it's just a good book, just in general. That being said, all right. So now, more people should be reading that book, actually. I would dare say.
Yeah, I think so too.
So we can go on. Well, actually, you know what? Do we want to do one more book, or just go ahead and hit rapid?
No, I was about to say we can hit rapid fire. We'll hit the minigun because Roddykat has several books he needs to get through. So
yeah, but I can get those quick, so that's cool.
I am going to spin it up. Hit it, Jesse the Body Ventura, aka Blaine.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, I'll lead off because I have fewer books this week. First up is Berserker, number 6 of 12 from Boom Studios. It's written by Keanu Reeves and Matt Kint, with art by Ron Garney, colors by Bill Crabtree, and letters by Clem Robin. So we actually find out even more about this Berserker character that is patterned after Keanu Reeves. We find out what exactly might be his motivations in his latest adventures with this group that have weaponized his seeming immortality. And you know, we get some callbacks to some previous adventures that he's had, some references that are brought up to help fill in some of his some reasons for his behavior in the present day. And ultimately, what we find out is this apparent Defense Department is trying to go after what makes this Berserker character tick, and ultimately, you know, we might have a double cross here, and we'll see where that takes the character. Next up, we have Hulk #2. It's written by Donny Cates, with art by Ryan Ottley, inks by Cliff Rathburn, colors by Frank Martin, and letters by VC's Corey Pettis. I think Roddykat read this.
Yep.
So in this issue, we find ourselves again tagging along with the psyche of Bruce Banner in the body of the Hulk. As the Hulk is hurtling through space, the first thing he runs into in this issue appears to be a copy of, is it the Authority?
That is correct.
So I'm not that familiar with the Authority, but I recognized like the homage to it, and obviously the alternate acronym gave it away.
Right.
And the Hulk basically, not even basically, literally plows through them.
While Bruce
just
Banner
goes right through them.
Right.
What's that?
While Bruce Banner is asleep.
Right. He's asleep at the controls. What ends up happening though is the Hulk gets ensnared in basically a scanner energy envelope, and what we are treated to is what Bruce Banner has made his engine room, which is the fury of the Savage Hulk personality, and in order to get more power to what he's basically made the Hulk into, which is a ship, in order to gain more power into propulsion and thrust and all that stuff, he basically presents increasing levels of threat to the Hulk in order to get the Hulk angry. And, you know, the angrier the Hulk gets, the stronger the Hulk gets. So, you know, to get to second level on the throttle, he has to throw Marvel, like some classic Marvel monsters at him. But in order to get to level 3, we have the reveal that one of the big motivators of the Hulk, one of the big anger centers of the Hulk, is in fact one short stuff, knucklehead, you know, with pointy claws, aka Wolverine. And the way it's depicted here is just comedic. There's some really funny bits in here, and there is a great one-page splash. I'm not a big fan of Ryan Ottley's art, but I thought this was well done. This particular one-page splash page, where the Hulk superimposes one word onto his famous catchphrase of Hulk Smash. What we find out ultimately in this issue is the scanner energy net ends up capturing the Hulk, and his captor is someone we are not expecting, although it is definitely heavily teased by the hue of the computer screens around the character as we see the character in silhouette. So I thought that was a big giveaway, but at the same time, I was honestly still surprised.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, I didn't honestly. I didn't think about it that much as far as to who that could have been until that. I was like, huh, okay. And honestly, up until that point, I was like, wait, are they bringing the leader back? Which is my thought. But ultimately, but outside of that, like, yeah, this is. I enjoyed reading this, even though it was kind of, the art is what it is. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not of the same mind with Agent 70 about Ryan Ottley's art, but it's also situational too, because some of his art fits some of the stuff and not everything he does.
I guess.
Yeah. In this one, yeah, I'm still not sure whether this fits this or not. It kind of does, but also, yeah, I don't know. It could go either way with this.
All right. Next up for me is The Thing #2 of 6. This is written by Walter Mosley with art by Tom Reilly, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So this is the next big thing, part 2. That is the title of the story. And I'll be honest, this is a little wacky for me, so I might let Roddykat talk us through this one, if you don't mind.
That's fine. Let me pull up the cover real quick. Yep. So yeah, the premise is that this is set. This is an old news story, as we were wanting to say, meaning it's a story that's set up in the past. Uh, uh, an unseen story from the past, as it were. And yeah, Agent 7 is kind of right, but the short strokes is like,
See, this is why I handed it off. I'm going to give you a hand. So
No, well,
ultimately, the character that is causing problems for Ben Grimm in the first issue originates from an underground version of New York that
Right.
people have escaped to in order to kind of rebuild their version of New York, or at least their hopeful version of New York. And a lot of these people seem to be destitute and outcasts from the quote unquote upper world, kind of like Morlocks but without the mutant powers. And what we find out is that the character with the tires around his arms, which is kind of silly, I forget his name,
Brusque.
but what's that?
Brusque.
Is it Rusk?
Brusque. Yeah, Brusque.
Oh, Brusque. Oh, Brusque or Brusque. Yeah, Brusque.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Brusque had become infatuated with this performer, and that is the reason why the paths of Brusque and the Thing cross paths, because it's this performer who is seemingly trying to reach out and make a connection with Aunt Petunia's favorite nephew, and this performer gets dragged under the city streets into this underground redone New York, and things obviously don't go to plan for anybody, and ultimately Brusque is defeated, and the Thing is ready to leave, and he's threatened by one of the characters who are living underground that he can't leave. And this is where I kind of lost it with this book.
And I kind of can understand it,
because I was like, wait, what? That's how they ended this particular part of the story. And now where, it's kind of like a weird one and done, because it's really the first 2 issues are connected. It seems like the next issue has very little to do with the first 2 issues, but we'll see. It just says to be continued.
Right. So I'm gonna disagree with you there. And actually, this is where I'll tag in, because I believe, especially with what happened in the particular. So yeah. So the first issue sets up this kind of big bad that takes Brusque and kind of makes Brusque and sends him off on his thing, which leads to this. And the Brusque thing kind of gets. I feel like this is clearly a first arc where, hey, this mystery kind of comes up, because we get met with 2 people. Well, excuse me, we get met with one other person. Because like the young lady that Agent 70 mentioned, but also this little kid who seems to know a little bit more than a kid of that whatever seemingly age knows, and in fact may possibly, at least the way I took it, may have had a little bit more to do with what happened to Brusque than not, either between him or that young lady, because it kind of set up slightly smoothly, because you kind of come away thinking, wait, that was just basically just a little too convenient, the way that just ended with what happened to Brusque. So I feel like, because even with the panel, like right before whatever happens, like you just see them staring. So and it just kind of seemed like, okay, one of them to me felt like it had something to do with that. And that kind of opens up the mystery that's going forward. You forget this is not you didn't forget, but for people not to know that this is part 2 of 6. So going into the next issue, that kind of opens up a whole another mystery as to, 1, who was behind Brusque, and 2, what's the deal with either one of these 2 people who may have more to do with things than not. Because I feel like the setting up is like, well, since this other big bad that we were introduced to has shown itself, they are probably going up against somebody, and that probably has something to do with one of these two characters, probably the kid. That's just it could be, I could be like totally off base, but that's what it feels like.
Bottom line is we're about to hit the halfway point of the series, so we'll see if issue 3 brings me any reason to keep going with this.
Right.
Because we're going to, really see what Mosley has in store for our man Benji Grimm. So last but not least for me is X-Force number 26. It's written by Benjamin Percy with art by Robert Gill, colors by Guru EFX, and letters by our very favorite paisan VC's Joe Caramagna. Did you happen to read this?
Yes, I did.
So the adamantium surfboard comes into play.
It does.
We knew it would.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're basically in the immediate aftermath of the last issue where some amphibious characters are able to make off with some Krakoan babies thanks to some really shoddy Krakoan defenses. And Wolverine feels very responsible for what happened.
And he should.
And with that?
And he should.
Of course. And it is an X-Force book, so X-Force is tasked with responding to this kidnapping and investigating. And what they find is that the 2 out of the 3 babies are safe, because it appears that the 3rd baby may have gone a little haywire and wrecked the sub that they had been abducted to. That they had been taken to as part of their abduction. Mm-hmm. So what we end up finding out via the scalpel of Dr. Cecilia Reyes is that these characters who had gained amphibious traits were not mutants. They could be mistaken for mutants, though, because essentially they are xeno soldiers who have been given biological adaptations that would essentially mimic being Atlantean. Being having lungs and gills and having abundant cartilage, thin bones, and swim bladders, making them kind of equivalent to fish. So, as I said earlier, we have a little bit of a comeuppance for the female that Wolverine was trying to kick it to. She apparently doesn't make it through some serious waves, and Wolverine has to use his adamantium surfboard to help get out of it, and gets rescued by Kid Omega. Mm-hmm. And we find out at the end of the issue that 3rd baby is in the wrong hands.
Right.
And this may or may not come back to bite the X-Men in the end.
So a couple of quick points. One, so the 3 babies, like I said, they took 3 babies. One of them seemed to be manifesting their powers, which, if you know anything about mutants, doesn't normally happen until like puberty. But there are cases where that's not the case. So this 3rd one was the one that just happened to be manifesting its powers and doing what Agent 70 said. But also there was the one little other note was that coming off the fact that Quentin Quire got dumped by one of the cuckoos, he was still kind of in his feelings about it. And at the same time, Wolverine also kind of, because he kind of had a connection with this one girl that he was going after, and there was a little kind of butted heads about that, but kind of end up, coming together at the end in a way. That's that.
All right, and that's it for me.
And we move on to more stuff. Let's see. Black Manta number 4. Written. Zips. There is that. Where's my stuff? There we go. Written by Chuck Brown. Art by Matthew Dow Smith. Colors by Marissa Louise, and letters by Clayton Cowles. Not VC related at this point. So at the last issue, Manta met up with this I don't know what she is, but she's we're gonna call her Turret because that's what she gets named here. I guess they're frenemies. Manta's not necessarily under the influence, but basically this rock called Orichalcum, and if you know your Yu-Gi-Oh, you'll know that from a thing. But regardless of that, giving them headaches, slowly killing them. But also similar things happening to this Torrid character. They end up meeting up because people can the people under the influence of this rock can kind of sense each other in a way. Last issue they fought, but they in this particular uh episode issue that they kind of come to a meeting of the minds in a way, but Black Manta being Black Manta, a little bit brusque about on his side. So they ended up doing a kind of a team up to go see this wizard to kind of get a little bit more information and try to figure out why this thing is killing them, and it has something to do with ancient Atlantean bloodlines, of which we found out that Manta is now one of, or well, I guess that has been retconned into being of the line of somewhere down the line. And this is also a tie-in to the Aquaman miniseries that is coming up. And meanwhile, there's somebody who's vying for Manta's throne also after this rock and trying to fashion a weapon, and he kind of comes to a thing to where he needs Black Manta. So that's going to come into play next issue or two. But this is 4 of 6, so there's only 2 more issues left. And we'll see how this plays out. Wonder Girl number 6 is the next book. Written by Joel Jones, art by Lila DeLuca, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by Pat Brousseau. Yara basically, well, she was fighting through Olympus, trying to get away after the events of last issue. She got caught, thrown into Tartarus, and caged. Ends up getting out of that because of this giant, and they fought who she ends up fighting, and gets away from that situation thanks to her weapon that she's still trying to figure out how to use. And she ends up at the gates of Olympus with her flying horse, which there's more parts of me thinking like this and Valkyrie, the Mighty Valkyries, are kind of slightly aligned in a way, but we're not gonna talk about that. But anyway, she ends up at the gates of Olympus, where on the other side of the gates, her estranged people that she's her group of Amazons that she's is probably going to end up knowing that she's aligned with, are trying to storm the gates to go get her. But they're on one side, she's on the other, and then she gets attacked by some Olympians at the end of this thing. We also see Cassie Sandsmark and Donna Troy show up, and they're talking, and they're also with this other group of Amazons that they just found out that were a thing themselves. And again, this is all leading up to some Wonder Woman event, I believe, that is coming up, forthcoming. So so not necessarily tied in, but definitely attached to. Savage Avengers, the book that seemingly will never die.
I did skim this, by the way.
Okay.
I did skim it because out of morbid curiosity, but it does seem that it is almost over.
It is, yes. I was going to get to that. Written by Jerry Duggan, art by Patch Zerker, color artist Java or Hava or Tartaglia, letters by BC Travis Lanham. So yes, as Agent 7 said, this looks like it's seemingly over, but we've been in this place before, so this thing is a foolish. But this seems, I even don't even want to say it again, because like the whole crux of this book was this whole thing with cooling gas. That's been taken care of this issue. They all go to celebrate at Doom's place, but there's another little wrinkle that needs to be taken care of. And Kang and Doom were talking about it, and Conan's kind of involved in that. And cue the gif of Rhodey doing the strangling motion from what was it, Infinity War?
Yeah, I want to say Endgame.
Endgame. Yes.
Because they're talking about Back to the Future hot tub time machine.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
And doing a certain thing to get rid of a person.
Baby Hitler.
Yes, exactly. So that whole situation happens, which does kind of halfway kind of go off. But they don't kill Cool and Gav. They basically change his history without going to that. But this is still not over because it's to be continued at the end of this issue.
Right. But the next, at least for now, the next issue's title, or at least setting, is a coda, and we know that a coda signals an ending. So
Correct.
we'll see if that is in fact a coda for the series.
Right. And this book has lasted way longer than it potentially has had to write to, especially given its beginnings. But hey, stranger things have happened. Next book is Defenders number 4. Why do I have art by Al Ewing? That is totally not right. Written by Al Ewing. Wow, why do I have writer? What was I thinking? Art by Javier Rodriguez and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. This is a trippy ass book. Like this is kind of for me how Agent 70 kind of felt about this week's thing. Because they've been kind of traveling through the previous iterations of, I don't know if it's the 616 or just various versions of just universes in general. It's kind of weird. So basically, you have the team of defenders led by Doctor Strange. It's not too many of the usual people you would expect to be aligned with the defenders, and it's definitely not the Netflix folks. Just in case you were wondering. But yeah, they're on this thing. It's like Galactus's mom, Cloud, which I'm not even going to go into that. Harpy, Betsy Ross, Phantom Rider. There's a couple, but a couple of people. Regardless, and like I said, they're on this whole thing. The Silver Surfer was there, but now he's going. And like each issue, there's been a member of the team that's left the team for some odd reason, and this one's no exception. We basically get almost a reemergence of a version of the Lifebringer, Galactus the Lifebringer, in this. But like I said, this is an instance to where it may not have anything to do with the 616. Before they kind of go through the fourth wall and end up in another instance of the universe, to where their next fight ensues. And like I said, a member of the group ends. Like this is a weird book, and I'm not sure how long this is going to last, or if this is. I wouldn't say I believe this is a miniseries, but I'm not entirely sure. Next up is Excalibur number 26, and you didn't read this, I guess.
I skimmed it, so I have an idea what it is. I know that it is the last issue of this volume of Excalibur.
Right. Oh, and actually, yeah, and this and X-Force kind of, I guess this week's books are this kind of moving away from the reading order that is at the back of they're basically going into their own things, looks like, because what we were getting in the X books were reading orders of how you should read the book, and we're not getting that. In fact, we're getting, in certain cases, relaunches of books, and in this case, yeah, like I said, could be the end of this particular book, but another one is coming after it.
Right. There's an event that this is leading into, so this could be one of those things where, like, the death of Wolverine, or the many lives of Wolverine, where the book proper ends or goes on hiatus while this limited series takes its place in the publishing schedule.
Right. And we do know, like we'll see in the news, there is definitely some X books that is getting relaunched, at least one in particular. But Excalibur number 26 has been written by Tini Howard, art by Marcus Toe, color artist Eric Arciniega, and letters by VC's Ariana Mayer. So we get a story at the beginning of this that's seemingly before the incursions, and I believe, yes, those incursions because there is a reference to New Avengers in the company of this that has, I guess, that is tied into this as far as time placement. But sorry, I am hyper aware of things because we had some technical issues earlier, so hopefully we will continue to not. But anyway, there's basically a siege on the castle that is pretty much the last point of the point that the Krakoans can come in and out of Otherworld, and thanks to Merlin's siege of the castle and a plan by him, which I guess Betsy kind of knew about, kind of backs them up against the wall, and I believe sends them back to Earth. But Betsy, because of her abilities, can kind of go back to Otherworld, and at the end of this, she may have gone Butch and Sundance, but it's also, like Age of 7 said, is leading to a possible event that we will see coming forward. So we'll see how that plays out. Last but not least, I Am Batman. Written by John Ridley. Yes, that John Ridley. Art by Steven Segovia and Kristen Deuce. Colors by Rex Locus and letters by ALW's Troy Peteri. So basically in this issue, this is still kind of coming. I'm not sure. It's I think this is after Future State. But there's a lot of talk. Like Lucius Fox and Tanya Fox are talking about what happened at the prison in relation to last issue, and so are Commissioner Montoya and one of the detectives, Chubbs, who gets unceremoniously gets transferred to another station. Actually, she gets transferred to New York because they say that out and about. And I don't know if that's setting up. Because I believe Jace is supposed to be leaving because of the whole Batman thing, right? Like Batman's leaving Gotham, and everybody else is pretty much gonna be left. So basically, Bruce and Jace are gone, and it's just leaving the other parts of the Bat family to take care of Gotham, which may or may not have something to do with the video game that's coming up, but we're not gonna talk about that. So anyway, like I said, there's a transfer. There's I think the only other thing of note that happens is that Thea and Jace and Batman costume kind of meet up and they talk, and there's some real world parallels to some MAGA stuff, and that's kind of weird and crazy, but whatever. And Jace's sister wakes up near the end of this, so what that takes us, we don't know. But I imagine the family will get together because of that. And I think the Lucius and Tanya talk, they kind of find themselves at odds with what position they were at in the course of Future State, or even maybe in the what seemed to be the beginning of Future State at this point. I don't know. This book is weird, but that's it. Clicks of the week.
Clicks of the week.
So we didn't get anything from the other hosts. So it is on us.
That is fine. So I can tell you I am in between a couple of books this week. Most likely in between Strange Academy number 14. And maybe maybe Hulk number 2. Thought that was interesting despite my misgivings with Ryan Otley's art, but I'm probably going to stick with my first instinct, which is Strange Academy number 14.
I myself slightly torn between Strange Academy and actually kind of Wonder Girl, like weirdly enough. But I think I'm actually going to also go with Strange Academy number 14 because I love that book.
Okay.
So that being said, we can go on into the news, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. It's your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world-famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise such as custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Fun Code link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Fun Code through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
Alrighty. First we get into the cinematic news. Starting off with yes, Spider-Man No Way Home came out. We already established us already. But should not be spoiler, but says here, prepare to see Peter Parker like never before in Spider-Man No Way Home. There was a interview with CBR with Tom Holland that revealed that he was allowed to tap into Peter's pad side in a way that will shock fans of the characters. Only one of us on this show can speak to that, but we're not going to do that right now. Next up,
Spider-Man No Way Home has already shattered domestic box office records on its opening day. As reported by Variety, No Way Home earned $121.5 million on its first day in theaters, making its Friday domestic box office the second highest opening day of all time, just behind Avengers Endgame, which pulled a $156.7 million opening day. It is fair to say that this would have been higher were it not for the fact that we are still locked in the throes of a pandemic.
Although some fools don't care and the virus is still spreading rapidly and variants. Next up, and apologize for folks who are watching the video version because there could be some potentially spoiler-ish side articles on the page. Anywho, Sony Pictures chair Tom Rothman confirms one more Marvel crossover film for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I'm gonna let Agent 70 kind of talk about this because he kind of mentioned something earlier that's related to this article.
Yeah, so bottom line is there's some word here that there was some word just prior to the Thursday opening that Sony had plans to do 3 more Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, but apparently they walked that back and can confirm that there's at least one more crossover film or one guest appearance with Tom Holland, and there's nothing confirmed after that. So we will see how this all plays out. Based on our experience with Sony leaks and Sony rumors, a lot of them tend to be true because at the end of the day, they have a very, very bad record at stopping their leaks. They don't have the same sniper team that Marvel has, because if Kevin Feige is trying to stop you, you generally get stopped from leaking or spoiling. So bottom line here is it seems likely that all of these rumors and innuendo that Sony dropped probably will end up being true. And we're probably going to get a lot more Holland Spider-Man.
Hopefully. Indeed. Rumor, Doctor Strange... Oh, wait, actually, this is you. Sorry.
Yeah, it was previously reported that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness would be seeing its first trailer soon. A new rumor suggests that the trailer will be tied to the upcoming Spider-Man No Way Home.
To which, not a surprise, given that Doctor Strange's in the movie and
Exactly.
And you've seen the trailers, you already know.
Exactly.
Not that much of a tie. Sony's third Spider-Verse movie hits theaters in 2023. So the title reveal for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 rocked the world, according to this article, with the news that the film would be a part of a much larger story, aka cut into 2 parts. Now we have word of when the following installment is expected to release. Phil Lord and Chris Miller discussed the upcoming sequel to the Academy Award-winning Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse during the Entertainment Weekly Q&A. While discussing this decision to split the upcoming story into 2 films, the duo said, "Miles' story is an epic. We wrote what we thought the story needed to be, and to our surprise, we realized it was 2 movies instead of 1. Right, because trilogies are not a thing that movies that splitting movies into 2 parts is not a thing that movies hadn't been doing for the last 5 years or so, 5-10 years or so. So take that for what it is. Anyway, we're working on the both as we speak. Part 2 will be out sometime in 2023. We will sleep again in 2024, quote unquote. Next up,
Hawkeye Kazi actor wants to team up with Spider-Man and Killmonger. Okay, yeah, this guy is being a little ambitious here.
Hey man, you got to get it in.
Yeah. This is Fra Free. That is his name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the actor's name. And he says that his favorite character is always in Spider-Man since he's a kid. And he just wants to play more in the MCU.
Of course he does. Duh. Hawkeye head writer always wanted that spoiler character involved. So we've already talked about Hawkeye episode 4, which was from last week, and he's basically talking about Yelena Belova. How he's always wanted that character to come in. So not necessarily much else to be said about that. Next up,
Lawrence Fishburne has a present for you. Yes, you, Roddykat. The actor has bestowed the very first look at the upcoming Disney Channel animated series Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur upon the world, and while it is extremely short, it is also extremely big on style. I have not watched this yet.
Actually, neither did I, and I pulled this. So
the clip is a kinetic kaleidoscope of colors and action, which honestly befits a series inspired by one of comic legend Jack Kirby's trippy 70s creations. Probably the most obvious visual inspiration seems to be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, perhaps with a dose of Jamie Hewlett's Gorillas animations, but the polymorphous colors are psychedelic enough to feel unique, especially for a children's cartoon. Okay, I'm going to have to take a look at that when I get a chance.
I feel like part of that maybe is slightly of a stretch, but I have not watched this, so I don't know. But judging by what shots I've seen of this before, like, yeah, it does look the art style is a little different, definitely. So, yeah, I'll check it out. Next up, though, Marvel and DC face off in a new doc from the Russo Brothers. We've talked about this before, probably months ago. The Russo Brothers brought Black Panther and Spider-Man into the MCU for the first time, according to this article. They're going bigger with a 10-part docuseries about the biggest rivalry in comic book history, Marvel and DC. The documentary is called Slugfest, and it premieres December 24th on the Roku channel. The Russos, y'all know who it is, and we don't have to even say, but are producing it, and none other than Kevin Smith is narrating. And there's a trailer attached to this article that you can check out if you are so inclined. Next up,
I think we talked about this last week, but
after the fact, after the show, we did.
Right. Netflix has canceled its live-action Cowboy Bebop series after just 1 season. The first and only season premiered on November 19th earlier this year. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Netflix will not pick up the anime adaptation of the sci-fi western for another season. This is despite the cliffhanger ending at the end of the first season, which finally revealed a prominently missing character.
Which on its own is like, yeah, but at the same time, I don't know if it actually needed to. Like, I kind of mostly enjoyed it, but it's.
So you finished it?
I did finish it, yeah, but it was still kind of, for lack of a nicer word, loose. Obviously loose from the source material, but just loose in execution.
Not just in adaptation, but in execution.
Yes.
Got it.
So, but like I said, it was all right. Like I didn't hate it, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know. But see, as there's a history of live action anime projects that aren't good, so a lot of people were not expecting this to be great. But you figure with who's attached, and it seemed like they were taking care, which you can kind of see,
well, what's funny is that I've not been big on anime for long, and I've not really watched much in the way of anime adaptations.
Right.
or manga adaptations. So I'll tell you that when I was watching the Cowboy Bebop uh, adaptation, I thought the parts that would have been weakest for me in the past came through with flying colors, namely some of the CGI and the space stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and where they fell flat was in the adaptation of the story.
Right. Exactly. I totally agree, which is basically what I was alluding to. So now liberties abound, and they kind of mix some things around, and that kind of jumbles some things. You know, you don't always expect a like here's a beat for beat for beat for beat thing. Even in the MCU, we've already gotten used to that because there's definitely none of that there. That aside, you know, it was an attempt. You know, the way they left it off was weird, kind of, I guess, for what it was. But you know, you would think it felt like they kind of set it up knowing they possibly were going to get another season, but you know, no, not. But also, I've seen some really good shows kind of end on cliffhangers and not get renewed. Sadly, this one I'm not sure if I care that much about, or I'm not that precious about to say that it should get one. Anyway, hey, it's out there. You can check it out while it's still on Netflix. Anyway, next up, some sad news. Keiko Nobumoto, writer for Cowboy Bebop and Tokyo Godfathers, dies at 57. So yeah, she's was the writer of a bunch of anime and manga, I believe. But she passed away on December 1st after a battle with esophageal cancer. The news of her passing was confirmed by fellow anime writer Dai Saito, excuse me, on or Sato, excuse me, whatever. On Facebook, a private funeral service was held for her on December 4th. She was 57. So you may know that name as the aforementioned writer of Cowboy Bebop and the adaptation of Cowboy Bebop, Knocking on Heaven's Door, which was that the movie? I think it was. I believe that was the case. Tokyo Grandfathers, Carolyn Tuesday, Samurai Champloo, Space Dandy. She's written on some of those folks might know. She also had credits as a scenario supervisor for Kingdom Hearts. So yeah, Wolf's Rain was an animated that I know I've seen, and that's kind of a weird one, but also a lot of people like Wolf's Rain. So yeah, she was definitely Macross Plus also. You know, to say what you want about that one. She's really nice. So condolences to her family friends for that. Next up.
What are we up to? Netflix live action Avatar, right?
Yes.
Netflix's live adaptation of the beloved Nickelodeon animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender may have lost the original showrunners, but the sprawling cast just keeps getting bigger. The streaming service has announced who will be playing a bevy of roles, including major antagonist Azula. Elizabeth Yu, a newcomer, will play the troubled Fire Nation princess who becomes twisted under her father's emotionally blah 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 blah. After Zuko, played by Dallas Liu in the live-action series, joins Team Avatar in later seasons. Native rights advocate and actor Casey Camp Horanek will play the Water Tribe leader and grandmother of Katara, Kiawentio, and Sokka, Ian Owsley, aka Gran Gran. And several members of the Earth Kingdom have been announced as well. I'm too tired to read all these people.
Yeah, Suki's moms, those other people, but so we know. It is late, folks, so forget, you know. Oh, Tamlin Tamita's gonna be in this.
Yay!
I know Agent 70 is a fan of her, and so am I,
Yep.
so I'm not even gonna trip. The Flash is bringing a Legion of Superheroes mainstay into the Arrowverse, and that would be one Phantom Girl, which I feel like this is old news. I don't know why. But regardless, according to the Wrap, actor Mika Abdallah will play the role of Tina Wazo on the series. She is described as a quote-unquote reluctant meta teenager who, after years of successfully hiding in plain sight, finds her life is turned upside down when she becomes the subject of Iris West Allen's latest investigation for CC Citizen Media. She finds herself thrust into a dangerous world she never knew existed, one that will change her life forever. etc., etc. And so I guess she's going to be on the Flash series sometime this season. After this 5-parter or whatever the case may be. Next up, it looks like the show is changing days also, because it looks like it's going to start airing on Wednesdays in 2022, following its mid-season finale in 2022. Next up,
a teaser trailer has been released by the CW for a new teen superhero series called Naomi. The show stars Casey Walfall as Naomi, a young woman who is beginning to realize she has superpowers. The teaser also gives viewers a first look at a character named Dee, played by Alexander Rafe, who plays a winged alien from the planet Thanagar. Okay.
so
This is a
Hawkman.
series written and executive produced by Ava DuVernay and Arrow writer Jill Blankenship. And the series also stars a bunch of people I'm too tired to read aloud.
This is what you're going to get for the rest of the episode, folks. Tired Agent 70. DC's Blue Beetle movie sets 2023 theatrical release date. So yeah, according to a Hollywood reporter, Blue Beetle movie is no longer being planned as an HBO Max exclusive. I feel like that's kind of old news. It is now eyeing a theatrical premiere with a release date of August 18th, 2023. So yeah, as folks may or may not know, HBO Max has been a place where a lot of movies this year have been going, including the upcoming Matrix Revolutions, which we'll talk about in a minute. But they have long since gone back on that and decided to put everything in the movies, strictly to movies, which is sad. But yeah, so there's that. Next up,
Netflix has acquired the David F. Walker action comic The Hated for a potential live-action Western series. The prime mover here is Michael Starbury, the Emmy-nominated writer who teamed with Ava DuVernay on When They See Us and Colin in Black and White, the Netflix series on Colin Kaepernick. Starbury will be executive producer along with Prime Universe Films' Adrian Ascaria Walker, David F. Walker, and Sean Ovolo. It'll be a female-driven post-Civil War revisionist history Western based on the exploits of Araminta Free, a gunslinging bounty hunter in a world where the Civil War ended differently. Instead of a victory for the North, there's a truce, and what had been one country is now two. Araminta specializes in crossing the border into the Confederacy, tracking down vicious war criminals, which has made her a woman with a price on her head. Solid Comics publishes it. The only reason why I read this far is because I got a kick out of seeing the name Araminta, which I had not really seen before other than in Crazy Rich Asians.
which I will ask you about how that is after the show. Funimation, and so now we're getting the anime block because Jump Festa 2022, I believe, happened this past weekend also. So anyway, Funimation and Crunchyroll are getting new Attack on Titan episodes this week.
Yay.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was expecting. So Funimation and Crunchyroll are getting 8 new episodes of Attack on Titan in anticipation of airing Attack on Titan Final Season Part 2. Previously, the episodes were only available on DVD, but they will now be released to the streaming service on December 19th, which is the day we are recording, so they should be up there as we speak.
I'm pulling it up right now just to double check.
Because we have now gone into the 20th as of this recording. So, y'all know what Attack on Titan is. I don't have to say anything about this except for the fact that Attack on Titan Final Season Part 2 is currently scheduled to be released on January 9th, 2022, and Agent 70 rejoices again.
Yay!
And while he pulls that
up,
up,
yeah, it looks like they're up. Yeah, they're up now. They're 8 episodes, so they are up now on Funimation. They're listed as OADs.
OAVs or LADs?
No, OADs.
That's
because they were direct to DVD.
Direct to DVD, yeah. I haven't heard that term in a minute. OAVs, but which OAVs? Anyway, we're not gonna get into that. All right.
Or OVA, right? Exactly.
OVA,
normally it's OVA, but
exactly.
They're listed here as OADs.
That's interesting. But anyway, so they're out there. Go at it, you Attack on Titans fans ain't there.
Yay! All right.
Next.
Just everyone who likes Attack on Titan, please remind Roddykat to watch it past where he stopped watching it because he thought it was going one way, and it is definitely not going in that way. He just decided to stop abruptly when he assumed it was going one way, and it is most assuredly not going in that way.
I still feel valid in my, regardless of whether that's the case. I mean, I've watched enough anime to know that that would be the case, but I'm still not really sold on that one. Anyway, we can talk about that one later.
There's a reason why it's so popular, though.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
but anyway,
being popular doesn't always mean good. In this case, that's an exception to that rule. But like I said, like, yes, it is. I'm sure it is good, but it's not everybody's cup of tea, basically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, nothing is ever everybody's cup of tea. So, all right, a brand new anime series in the long running is no joke, Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise is prepared to duel. The official Yu-Gi-Oh! Twitter account posted a teaser visual giving card game fans a first look at the series' colorful characters and new monsters. Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush is set to premiere in April 2022 and will, for the first time in the franchise's history, feature an alien as the main protagonist. You mean that dude with the funky hair colors is not an alien?
Right, because that is a hallmark of the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Lead well, a bunch of people with crazy ass hair, so that's not nothing new.
That is not alien.
Yes. So yeah, that's a thing. I honestly love the original Yu-Gi-Oh series. I feel like you can skip everything past said the thing, but I know there are people who like some of those other ones. So this is probably for you also, because you got to keep that card that card synergy going. If we learn anything from the Toys That Made Us or any of the like type shows, which there may be a reference to that coming up soon. Dragon Ball Super's Superhero reveals new Gohan trailer and premiere date. So yeah, new footage and a premiere date for Dragon Ball Superhero is released at this year's Festa. New footage shows off a better look of the movie's new villains, the mysterious Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. Excuse me, the trailer shows the duo ganging up on Piccolo, who always seems to get ganged up first before Goku or Gohan comes to save him, which sadly. Followed by another fight where the new fighters take on Gohan, who is now wearing, well, I don't know why it's now saying, because it's not like Gohan has never worn Piccolo's clothes before. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it goes into that. We won't go into it, but definitely check out that if you are interested in it. I looked at it. I'm kind of looking forward to it, even though I have not finished the Super. The Japanese release date.
It's taking you so long.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still thinking about just going ahead and just slicing up, no pun intended, Demon Slayer, and then jumping back into that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the movie's Japanese release date is going to be April 22nd, 2022, which means that at some point we'll get it over here, or if you got a VPN, you can handle that accordingly, I guess, around that time. An international release date has not been announced yet, but like I said, it's probably going to happen. Next up.
Oh, it's awful because all those movies, they do a good job of clamping down on getting that stuff before you're supposed to. We'll put it that way.
This is true.
They do an excellent, like I have been fiending for the My Hero Academia World Heroes movie because I missed out on watching it in the theaters, and it's just going to take forever to get a viewable copy of that. Speaking of My Hero Academia, a new trailer for My Hero Academia's 6th season has been released. The trailer, which was shared on Toho Animation's official YouTube channel, once again teases the upcoming showdown between the series' wholesome best boy Izuku Deku Midoriya, the inheritor of One for All, and the twisted Tomura Shigaraki, the successor to the villainous All for One. The video shows brief clips of the heroes and villains on both sides of the upcoming conflict, including the flame hero Endeavor and Deku's classmate from UA High School. The trailer once again confirms that Season 6, classmates that is, from UA High School. The trailer once again confirms that Season 6 will begin airing sometime during fall 2022. So it's still a while away, yo.
Yes, it is. Now, you also, I don't think I have it in the lineup. You also had some other news about, was it My Hero, about the manga?
Oh, I did. I happened to see something in my Twitter and or Instagram feed that the creator of My Hero Academia announced, I believe it was at this convention, that The manga story for My Hero is probably going to end within roughly a year, given the given how schedules seem to be falling into place for the creator. Obviously, with the pandemic going on, we don't know if that's going to play havoc with the schedule, but he's looking at wrapping up the overall story of My Hero Academia in the manga within the next year or so. That gives us fans who have not read the manga maybe some impetus to just dive in and start reading it to catch up and see, because I really have only watched the anime.
Right. Yeah, and I think this article kind of alludes to what you or some of what you just said. So about that. Next up, and news that I'm kind of excited about, even though I've not finished the series. Bleach, 1,000 Year Blood War TV anime trailer, key visual released for October 22nd, 2022 start. So basically, I believe this is the last season of Bleach, which it's been a while since Bleach has come out. But the first details of the final Bleach TV anime arc, the 1,000 Year Blood War arc, were revealed at Jump Festa. It released the first teaser trailer, and I watched it. That joint looks good, even though I kind of don't know what's going on in some of it. But you see shots of people you know about it, you get enough of it. Anyway, full staff and cast and teaser visual, so key art piece basically, as well as an October 22nd to 2022, October 2022 premiere date on TV Tokyo in Japan. So at some point we'll get it over here in the States, probably sooner. You know, sooner, thanks to Crunchyroll or whatever. Hopefully, the way they end up doing those is slightly different for the anime than movies. Anyway, the trailer is in this article. You can check it out there. There's the piece of art right here. It shows Ichiko, the dude, and it also gives a rundown of the Japanese cast. So you can check that out in this article. Next up.
All right. The Witcher's second season has hit Netflix, so it is there for consumption if you are up for that. And Netflix revealed a first look at Blood Origin, the elven-focused prequel miniseries for its adaptation of Andrzej Sapkowski's smash hit fantasy world. Blah 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 blah. I'm looking for what Michelle Yeoh fits into all this.
She's in the cast, and the basically it's like the footage that I think was at the end, almost like an end credit scene, if I'm read this article right, shows her in action.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for that. Next up.
Speaking of Michelle Yeoh, we love her around here. Which is why I put this in here, because as far as I know, not comic related, although kind of. The first trailer for Everything Everywhere All at Once reveals what we all want: a Michelle Yeoh multiverse. So yes, this is Michelle Yeoh's new movie called Everything Everywhere at Once. Yeoh stars as an exhausted Chinese American woman who can't seem to finish her taxes. But there's obviously a lot more to the film than just that. And it goes into what the trailer goes into, but you should really just watch it. Oh yeah, we're good. Thanks for that. Jamie Lee Curtis is also in it, and a few other people. Watch the trailer if you're a fan of Michelle Yeoh, and maybe Jamie Lee Curtis also, which I did not recognize at first, but regardless, check it out. The movie.
It's an interesting trailer.
Yes. You did see it.
It was at it played with No Way Home.
Okay, yeah, because it just came out a few days ago, so that makes sense. The trailer did. But the movie itself is coming out March 2025. Oh, excuse me, March 25th of 2022. And yeah, the joint looks trippy, so you should, like I said, if you get a chance, check it out.
Definitely.
Yep. There's an exclusive clip of the.
No, I was about to say I got this one. This is is my turn.
All right, go for it.
Even though I punted that Witcher one because I was like, so where's the Michelle Yeoh part? Neo, and when I say Neo, we don't mean the car. talking about Keanu Reeves is reminded of the past by Bugs' Jessica Henwick in an exclusive clip from The Matrix Resurrections, which is in theaters and on HBO Max on December 22nd, just mere days from today, the date of this recording.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and like I said, at this point, I don't necessarily have to look at anything else because it's only a couple of days away.
Yep.
Also, can we talk about the fact that Jessica Henwick's character's name is Bugs? Like, really? That Warner Brothers, yeah, that Warner Brothers synergy just going strong.
Well, if they have her eating carrots, then we're gonna have to have some words with somebody.
Well, I mean, I believe, and this may or may not be spoiled because I think she's supposed to have like a white tiger suit or a white rabbit thing. She's probably the white rabbit. I feel like I saw enough of one of the two trailers that kind of hinted to where that part. So there is a little bit more, little nose on there.
That's funny.
Yeah, but anyway, like I said, if you want to check it out, it's there in the show notes. But hey, like Agent 7 said, we are mere days away, 2 days away to be specific. Last but not least, which also could have been Agent 70's, but also mine's. Fast and Furious 10 release date delayed to summer 2023, but it's still going to be about family. So yeah. Release date's been delayed 6 weeks. It was supposed to be April 7th, 2023. It's now going to be on May 19th, 2023. Universal hasn't given a reason for it, but it's closer to Memorial Day weekend with Cha-Ching. So that also could possibly be given how well the last one did for them, the savior of movies. I guess there's another reason for that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think they start filming like sometime early next year. If this article says something, but that is it for the cinematic news. We're gonna go into the comic book news. Transformers Beast Wars may have rewritten the show's past in a huge way. And so yeah, Beast Wars 10, which I can't remember if I've read already, and I think that may or may not be already out. I know there was a recent one, but I may not have read it. So the Maximals were attacking the Predacons head on over the Golden Disc. That is part of the show. An item they had no knowledge for most of the show's run, which is true. This jump to a major season 2 plot point showcases that the series may be moving away from strictly aligning with the show's broad continuity and doing its own thing, which they've already kind of done that by various things they've done. So that's not a big surprise. But yeah, I guess that revelation that the Maximals find out about the Golden Disc, which if you know about Beast Wars, that means something to you. If you don't, then it's just a bunch of blobbity. So yeah, that is a thing. But next up.
This is a tough story. I'm not going to read through the whole thing because it is rather lengthy, but it's an important story to read. It's about this was a story shared a few weeks back on the 80th anniversary of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Legendary G.I. Joe writer and former Marvel editor Larry Hama shared a chilling and rough piece of Marvel history related to longtime Marvel staffer Mori Kuramoto and how Kuramoto was treated every year on December 7th and why it should shape how we all view our own privilege. So it's worth taking a look at this.
Yep, and you can check it out in the show notes for this episode. Next up, we already kind of talked about this, so we can kind of brush past this, but yeah, Strange Academy visited Age of Apocalypse. Like I said, we already talked about it. So moving along.
The X-Men's Hellfire Trading Company will be heading into uncharted waters for a new Marauder series in 2022. Marvel Comics has announced that it will be relaunching Marauders with a new creative team, welcoming aboard writer Steve Orlando and artist Eleonora Carlini. The relaunch series is part of the Destiny of X wave of titles, which will be reshaping the landscape of X-Men. In the case of Marauders, Captain Kate Pride will take on additional crewmates, including a mystery mutant, as she tries to unravel a mystery 2 billion years in the making. Okay. Yeah. I may jump off Marauders as a pull list book. We'll see.
I'll probably, at the very least, check out the first couple of episodes. I'm not, I'm kind of in and out from Steve Orlando's writing, so I don't know. We'll see what they set up. but we'll get there when we get there. Captain Carter is a hero out of time in new comic series. Prolific creator Jamie McKelvey is known for, well, we're not going to get into that, but basically Jamie McKelvey and Marika Cresta are the creative team for a new 5-issue limited series based around, or excuse me, not based around, but having to do with Captain Carter, aka Peggy Carter, Captain Britain. Well, not Captain Britain, but she's called Captain Carter, but that's basically a Spider-Gwen situation. But she's Captain America or Captain Britain, whichever one you choose in that context. Because she has the mantle of Captain America and the shield, but you know, British flag and all that. So this thing will introduce Captain Carter in an adventure that will find Peggy Carter as a woman out of time, facing the reappearance of an old foe in the modern day and deciding what she stands for as the wielder of the shield. No doubt coming off of one What If. And I believe there's a little teaser trailer attached to this thing. So yeah, and some art. Let's see. It goes on sale March 9th of next year. And like I said, 105. So there you go. Fans of Peggy Carter, rejoice. Next.
Marvel Comics' new Wastelanders titles return readers to the world of Old Man Logan. And we find out that the newly adopted child of Logan has a pretty disgusting appetite, picking up right after blah 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 blah. Picking up right after Wolverine, Old Man Logan, Giant Size #1. Logan now cares for the grandson of Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, who has a problem with food and partakes in cannibalism because that's just the way the Hulk's role in that Old Man Logan reality.
Right, and I believe this is like probably a prequel to the Avengers of the Wasteland thing, but you know, that whole Wasteland, that whole Old Man Logan era is kind of weird. Next up, though, Wolverine is at the center of a transition in the incoming X-Men era Destiny of X with lives and deaths of Wolverine. I think we kind of talked about this a little bit, so don't necessarily have to go too far into it. But they're basically doing a Hoxpox in a way with Wolverine, because there's the X Lives of Wolverine and the X Deaths of Wolverine, and they're both coming together as twin 5-issue miniseries that are woven together. Apparently, there's a key mutant figure that is also going to be involved in this, and Wolverine will be traveling through time. It looks like. So stay tuned for that, I guess.
Next up, in March of 22, Chris Claremont is going to return to the X-Men franchise along with artist Sid Kotian to a new title starring Gambit. No further details of the new Gambit title's plot has been revealed, but the series is scheduled to kick off just as the X-Men line is entering its upcoming Destiny of X era in March and April. Okay.
Gambit fans rejoice. This was, I don't know if you saw this ahead of time, but Marvel Comics Overhauls digital redemption program, which seems like some old news that we've heard before, and I guess it kind of is, but gets rid of sticker covered codes. So yeah, so folks that need to know, you get your physical copy of Marvel Comics. Somewhere in the middle of the book is a page that has digital code that you can redeem for a digital copy of said same issue. Which wasn't always like that, by the way, but nevertheless, so they're revamping it again. So it says here that readers were, I guess, Agent 70 is looking for his copy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to pull mine out now, so I'm just gonna put myself on mute real quick. Go ahead.
Okay. So readers were taking them back this week when Marvel's new releases did not include the traditional stickers in them that can be removed to reveal a special code that can be that can redeem the digital copy of the book, like I just said, in the Marvel Comics app. Someone inquired with Marvel as to whether it was a simple printing error. A Marvel representative revealed that it was not, and also explained that it's not a misprint, but a process update. Please follow the instructions on that code page. They will tell you step by step how to get codes for your comics and any other details you need to know. Thanks, according to this representative, I guess. So yeah, so I guess they're basically changing it again. As to how the codes are going to be redeemed. I haven't bought a physical book in a good minute, so I haven't actually seen said things. So, but yeah, like I said, this is a change.
Looking it up as we speak.
Yeah.
I'm flipping through this week's. Oh yeah, here it is. No sticker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm flipping through this week's Strange Academy number 14, our click of the week.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it has a go to Marvel.com redeem help. Act now offer expires in 2 months, less than 2 months.
Which is not
No,
normal.
it's actually a month.
Yeah,
what's that?
I said, which is not normal because I believe those codes usually last a little bit longer than that, a lot longer than that.
Right. This expires February 1st, 2022. So we're talking all of January and only a portion of December.
Right.
And it's less than 2 months. You follow the on-screen instructions and fill out the form. Once your request has been confirmed, a redemption code will be emailed to you. After you receive the code in your email, you go to marvel.com/redeem and follow the on-screen redemption instructions. And then you launch the Marvel Comics app and check out your new digital comic under the My Comics tab.
Which I feel like there could have been a different way to handle part of that. But hey, there we go. So you, Agent 70 can let us know if that works out.
Yeah, I never go with that.
Really? Huh. I used to do it all the time. It was slightly of a pain, but shit, I was like, I wanted my digital copies because that's how I read them anyway, and just socked my physicals away.
Right.
So anyway, next up,
new Alex Ross Fantastic Four comic is coming from Marvel and Abrams. Who's Abrams?
I think it's a publishing company.
In the build up to blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Okay, in 2022, we're going to get Fantastic Four Full Circle, a large format graphic novel produced by Marvel Arts. New partnership between Marvel and Abrams Comic Arts. In a press release about Full Circle, Abrams described the comic as the Fantastic Four story Alex Ross has been wanting to tell for years, and visually, it is one of the greatest artistic experiments he's attempted, which is saying something, given his body of work. Okay, this might be interesting.
Yeah, maybe. I guess it's Marvel's, but for the Fantastic Four.
I guess.
Yeah. A nearly forgotten unpublished Spider-Man comic has found its way online. So we didn't talk about this when this was released, but the short story is there was that is a how to draw comics, the Marvel Way book from eons past. But there's also another one that came out, I guess more recently, called How to Read.
It was How to Read.
Yes, How to Read Comics the Marvel Way. And I know we got review copies of this, but I never did look into them. It says the 4-issue series landed on both Comixology and the Marvel Unlimited reading service in late November, early December, without much fanfare or any Marvel publicity marketing. But I feel like we might have mentioned it, but regardless.
We mentioned it, but I think what ended up happening is that it got lost in some of the COVID rescheduling.
Right. And yeah, as this article says, it was originally planned to debut April 15th, 2020, but because of COVID, the things shuffled it. So it's out there if you plan to want to check that out. Because, but yeah, apparently there's a Spidey story in there somewhere. Or because I remember reading like the first couple of pages and I was like, yeah, this is something I'll come back because I got other things to do. But it does definitely start out as a Spidey story, but it kind of breaks through it breaks the fourth wall at the same time in a way. So like I said, you can check that out. Next up though.
Next up, Marvel Comics has enlisted cartoonist Jim Rugg to tackle Hulk Grand Design, the latest in Marvel's series of retellings of classic characters' lives through a modern lens. As with cartoonist Ed Piskor's X-Men Grand Design and its follow-up Fantastic Four Grand Design from Tom Scioli, Hulk Grand Design goes all the way back to the Hulk's origin, revisiting the entirety of the events of the original Incredible Hulk title from 62 to its conclusion in 99 as a single concise narrative. Hulk was the first comic character I liked, writer-artist Jim Rugg tells The Beat, who broke the news of Hulk Grand Design.
Have we had Ed Piskor on the show, or am I tripping?
No, we never did. It's just that I talked to him and I mentioned my conversation with him, but we never had him on the show.
Gotcha. I don't know. I feel like that's something we would have done. Anyway, Dr. Octopus is back, and she's got a grudge against Ben Reilly's Spider-Man. Oh, look, it's not Liv. It is Carolyn Trainer, the second comic book Dr. Octopus, and she's returning to Marvel Comics in 2022.
Wait a second. Who?
Exactly. Trainer returns in March 16th, Ben Reilly Spider-Man number 3 to face off against Ben Reilly Spider-Man, so I won't be reading this, in an untold tale from the 90s written by her co-creator J.M. DeMatteis and drawn by David Baldion. So at least you know the art's going to be good. J.M. DeMatteis, I'm not suggesting otherwise there either, but...
Right, so this is in the Ben Reilly book, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I'm probably not going to read it either. It's terrible.
It is, but it is what it is. So Carolyn Trainer was created in 1995's Amazing Spider-Man 405, blah, 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 following the death of Octavius during the Clone Saga. Lady Octopus, which probably informed Liv Octavius from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, more likely. So yeah, that's the thing. And if you are of that mind and era, have at it when that happens. Next up.
Oh, I kind of remember this Carolyn Trainer looking Dr. Octopus now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she definitely fought with Ben Reilly, the stupid Scarlet Spider costume back in the day. I remember this cover.
Mm-hmm. Next up, though.
Yeah, this is in my let's ignore everything fake Spider-Man on the stands period of comic collecting.
Indeed.
Right, let's see. Blah, blah. So is it Venom's co-creator?
Yes.
Marvel announced a brand new Venom series called Venom Lethal Protector, written by Venom co-creator David Michelini, that's set near the time of Venom's first miniseries, which was also written by Michelini, or whatever. The new series is drawn by Ivan Fiorelli. The new 5-issue limited series will debut in March 2022, and it follows in the footsteps of other recent Marvel projects that have revisited past classic stories using the original creators. Okay.
Right, aka new old stories.
Right.
Marvel announced its next comic in the Ultraman franchise. Last year, Marvel Comics began publishing a line of Ultraman comic books. You should know this if you've been a part of this program, because I've talked about them. So no surprise, there's a new series coming up, written by the same creative team, looks like. Kyle Higgins and Matt Kroom, who wrote the previous entries in the Ultraman line. The Mysteries of Ultra 7 is also part of a global expansion of the Ultraman brand. So yeah, look forward to that. It is going to basically continue the story of the TV show of a similar name, and which I kind of figured because that's where it seemed like it was going. Let's see. It will debut in summer of 2022. Because, like I said, Marvel has the Ultraman license, so there you go. Next. Well, we can do this.
Spider-Man and Hulk's official comic printed on toilet paper resurfaces. Why is this not clickbait? A curious promotional item from Marvel Comics' past featuring Spider-Man and the Hulk has recently caught the attention of fans. An exclusive adventure only ever printed on toilet paper has made waves online over the ridiculousness of the promotion. The two Marvel heroes have had multiple team-ups over their long history together, but what exactly awaited them? This was created in 1979. By the Dawn Company. Editor-in-chief Jim Shooter at Marvel went a step further in producing an official Marvel toilet paper and directed Jim Salicrup and Michael Higgins to create an 8-page story with Marie Severin on art. The story was titled The Gamma Gambit, and the short comic was a fairly basic crossover of the two heroes on toilet paper. Good Lord.
And now it's, I believe, available or soon to be available, not on toilet paper.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. By the way, did you read that last Marauders issue? By chance?
Don't remember.
Okay. Moving right along. X-23 and Honey Badger are coming to Marvel Crisis Protocol. Because I meant to ask you about that, but whatever. Atomic Mass Games has released an official image showing off X-23 and Honey Badger. The characters will be coming to Marvel Crisis Protocol, which I believe is a board game, sometime in 2022. It's a miniatures game, actually. So there you go. Next.
Right. So some minor spoilers came out in the Hasbro release of Marvel Legends like Fan Friday this past Friday. And they released some Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness toys. And the movie's Marvel Legends action figures include the first look at America Chavez too.
Mhm.
So it's funny that I think I saw some of the teases of these figures before. No, it wasn't a Fan First Friday because it was before Friday because I had to have seen it before I went to No Way Home, because when I saw some stuff I was like, oh look, there it is, America Chavez. I've already seen this.
Mm-hmm. Was it? Because sometimes they do a Wednesday fan Hasbro thing.
Right, I think it was Wednesday.
Yeah,
it was a Wednesday thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm going through this thing as Agent 70 is talking about it.
Right. So yeah, I mean, you'll see Doctor Strange. This is like the newly revamped Doctor Strange for the Multiverse of Madness. You see Wong in his first Marvel Legends figure. We see an astral form Doctor Strange. We also see an America Chavez. This is our first full look at her, including her whole costume. We have the latest version of Baron Mordo, or now called Master Mordo. And it looks like the Build-A-Figure is Rintrah. Fans of the Doctor Strange book will recognize this character. He is definitely a deep cut, but if you have read any Doctor Strange, you will probably recognize Rintrah.
Yes.
This is a Target exclusive Defender Strange with the portal thing. It's funny because they make this pricier because it's an exclusive and you're basically paying for that portal thing. But if you really want to reenact that portal scene from Endgame, you may need to buy a bunch of these suckers. You also get a Sleepwalker figure. So are any fans of Sleepwalker out there?
Sleepwalker, what the fuck?
Sleepwalker has a Marvel Legends figure.
Yeah.
As well as Despair, who won a fan poll. Fans,
yeah.
I don't know what y'all are voting for.
Yeah.
Can we get a 6-inch scale lockjaw, please? Seriously?
Sleepwalker and Despair, and I guess we got rated, but I don't know if it's a real rate, so I'm not going to call it out.
Yeah.
But thank you for folks that came through as we're nearing the end of the show. But yeah, so Sleepwalker, that's crazy. Also worth a note in that series, or in that series of images, or at least not in that series of images. Apparently, Wong gets a sword because he's got magic effects, but he also got a sword, which you can see in the images I have up. Sleepwalker was one of my faves growing up. Okay, cool. So we got some Sleepwalker fans in the audience. And thank you for coming through with the raid. So appreciate it. Anyway, move right along though. The Guardians of the Galaxy game is getting its own Adidas shoe collection. Why? I have no idea. You know what? I don't even care. But yeah, so there's the shoes. There's going to be shoes. Yes, I'm not dealing with this ad blocker thing. I don't. It's not that serious. But yeah, they don't look that great of shoes anyway. So it is what it is. But if you like that Guardians of the Galaxy game, which I'm hearing pretty good, then hey, go for it. And yeah, chat, Automod is ruthless, so be careful out there. Next up though,
Marvel celebrates Free Comic Book Day 2022 with 3 titles. On May 7th, pick up Free Comic Book Day Avengers X-Men, Free Comic Book Day Spider-Man Venom, and Free Comic Book Day Marvel's Voices at your local participating comic shop. That is again on May 7th.
Yeah. Speaking of Free Comic Book Day, Funko and Diamond Select Toys announces Free Comic Book Day 2022 merchandise. So yeah, we see some Funko busts from The Mandalorian. There's Moff Gideon and looks like Boba Fett. I think that's it that they're showing here, but there's some other stuff that this article kind of goes into. So, but you can check it out in the article in the show notes. Next up,
The Expanse, a Telltale series announced with a gritty trailer. Telltale Games has revealed a short trailer for its latest project, The Expanse, a Telltale series. Unveiled during the Game Awards 2021, the trailer was released on the Telltale YouTube channel, revealing that the company will be working on the game with Deck Nine, the developers behind Life is Strange, spin-offs Before the Storm and True Colors. The production company behind the Expanse TV series, Alcon Entertainment, will also be involved.
So yeah, it is kind of curious that Telltale is back after the issues they had a few years ago. But hey, an Expanse Telltale video game, I'm down for because I love that show and I need to catch up with the series. Next up though, hey, there was a free Matrix quote unquote game that came out during the Game Awards. Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss was there on hand to kind of introduce this thing. And to mention that there's a video here in the show notes that you can check out for yourself. I have not had a chance to check this out, but obviously this is like a kind of a prequel thing to mess around with before the Matrix Resurrections comes out in a couple of days. It's called The Matrix Awaken. Like it's less of a game than more feels like a tech demo for Unreal Engine 5. Not to saying it's not good, and not saying you couldn't do anything with it, but you know it's interesting. It looks good from what I've seen, but I haven't had the chance to mess with it. But I keep saying I am going to. But if you have a PS5 or Xbox Series X and you haven't checked it out already, go check it out because it's out there. I'm going to take these next couple if you don't mind, because I know you're less video game inclined. Speaking of Telltale developers,
it would have been filled with lots of blobbity blahs and yakety schmackities.
Yes. Some former Telltale developers are making a Star Trek game, which kind of perked my ears up. No pun intended. Well, maybe there's some pun intended. Who knows? But shortly after Telltale Games announced the game based on Expanse, we were just talking to at the Game Awards. We found out that a group of former Telltale employees, and we will not talk about the drama behind that whole situation, but announced they too were making a game based off of Star Trek, which is likely to be Telltale-ish also. If you know about the Telltale style of video games, it's kind of like I don't even want to say a visual novel because it's more interactive than that, but nevertheless. I loved Telltale's games, so if they can kind of come back in some form, would be great without all that other baggage that had them break off in the first place, which was kind of terrible. But anyway, so yeah, they're doing a Star Trek game. It's called Star Trek Resurgence, and it looks like the Spock, Leonard Nimoy version of Spock may be in the game, or the likeness is in the game. We don't necessarily know too much about it, but it looks like spring 2022 on the Epic Game Store and Xbox and PlayStation. So you can check that out if you're curious. There's also Star Wars Eclipse, which is a multi-character narrative-driven game set in the High Republic. That is also being developed by Quantum Dreams. There is issues on that part because there has been some, let's say, issues with folks, within work practices, and some issues with the head of Quantic Dreams. So that's kind of putting a downer on this particular thing. Plus, if you've ever played any Quantum Dreams games, I don't know how to feel about this. Just in general, even with outside of that. But yes, so Star Wars Eclipse is going to be a new game that's coming, set in the High Republic, which we knew a High Republic game was going to be coming at some point. There's an official website, and I think it's supposedly, and this article also goes into the issues that had happened, was going on, and Quantic Dreams, which includes sexism, homophobia, inappropriate behavior, the stuff that's been going around in video game developing as of late. Next up, oh wait, no, actually you take this one because we're pretty much done with the video game block. You're muted, I believe.
I'm kind of curious about the story because they're saying that the creator of Transformers, Henry Orenstein, passed away at 98 years old, but that doesn't sound very Japanese. So did he come up with the concept of the Transformers characters because
Wait,
the toys were Japanese?
so did you not watch the Toys That Made Us?
I don't remember this part. I'm tired. So
Yeah,
I do remember seeing the Transformers toys that made us, but I
so
don't recall everything.
right. So basically you're right, but at the same time, I believe we're talking about the American version of Transformers in this case.
Right,
Because
that's
yeah,
what I figured. Like he created the American characters that went with the Japanese toys.
right. But even then there's some contention with that. If you've watched the Toys That Made Us on Netflix about the Transformers, it kind of goes into it. Okay, we won't because I don't also remember, but there was some contention as to who actually did what in the creation of the transformation. It definitely was Japanese because this toy, but they're
Yeah,
based off of
pre-existed the Transformers character.
right. But then, well, basically, it started off there, came to America, they did the Transformers thing, and then ended up going back over to Japan and still continued to go on. Type situation. Like I said, that's the very loose short straw of this. But yeah, so Henry Ornstein, who had some hand in this, on this side, that for the Hasbro side of this, and again, there's still contentions about that, even if you watch that thing. But anyway, regardless, hey, someone who had had a hand in bringing us some very popular toys, because I love me some Transformers, has passed away. So condolences to his family. But next up, Godzilla and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers meet for the first time in crossover comic series from IDW. It was bound to happen. So Toho International and IDW are partnering up with Boom Studios and Hasbro. That's a lot of hands in the pot. Announces that an all-new 5-issue comic book series, Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, brings together 2 Titanic franchises for the first time. I know Agent 70 is a big fan of Godzilla. I myself a big fan of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to a point, and also slightly Godzilla. Don't know if he'll be what. There you go. Let them fight. Launching in March 2022, this monthly miniseries will be a collaboration between 2 of the comic industry's most exciting talents, writer Cullen Bunn and artist Freddie Williams II, who I believe has done some of these crossover before, so I recognize that name. And then it goes into what the premise of this miniseries is going to be about. So you can read that in the show notes if you're so inclined. I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be some toys involved also, so go figure. Next up,
we're in the rollover, the spillover page. Warner Brothers announced an open world Wonder Woman game at the Game Awards. It's being made by Monolith, a studio behind Fear and the Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor series. Warner Brothers says the single player open world action game will introduce an original story set in the DC universe and allow players to become Diana of Themyscira in the fight to unite her Amazon family and Jeff Bezos and the humans from the modern world. Powered by the Nemesis system, gamers will forge deep connections with both enemies and allies and Star Trek as they progress from a heroic fighter into a proven leader. Star Trek Nemesis.
Okay. Very good. And yeah, I should have moved this because this should have been in the video game block, but whatever. Look, if you play Shadow of Mordor, it's a great game, and the Nemesis series is cool, so I'm kind of curious as to what they're going to do with this with Wonder Woman. Next up, though, let's see. So Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League unleashes gameplay trailer at the Game Awards. So yeah, more gameplay for that new Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad game made by Rocksteady Studios, makers of Arkham Asylum games. You can go check it out. Like I said, there was just more footage there. I believe I was watching the Game Awards, and there was an intro by Deborah Wilson, formerly of Mad TV, who plays Amanda Waller in this video game, and that was amusing enough in itself before they played the trailer. So like I said, you can check it out on your own accords, but it looks good. I'm kind of interested in whatever this game is going to be. Next.
In appropriately timed news, Naomi returns to the pages of her own series to uncover the truth behind the new mysteries around herself and her powers, featuring the original creative team behind the critically acclaimed and Eisner Award-nominated debut series of Brian Michael Bendis, David F. Walker, and Jamal Campbell. Naomi Season 2, Number 1, will be available at local comic book stores and digital retailers on March 8th, 2022.
So I still haven't read the first one, and I guess I should rectify that before that the TV series. The Flash's Rogues are getting their own DC Black Label series. So yeah, it's going to be called the Superior Road. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, folks. DC has announced Rogues, a 4-issue prestige format miniseries that will be published. And honestly, the only people who will get that joke will, are Superior Foes fans. But 4-issue prestige format miniseries that will be published under the Black Label imprint. It's due out in March. The title team's longtime Flash writer Joshua Williamson with Basket Full of Heads artist Leo Max for the Rogue's final desperate attempt to hit the big time. And because it's a Black Label issue, I'm sure there will be a little harder, I guess, in tone, but we shall see. It goes on sale March 22nd, 2022. So if you're a fan of the Rogues, you can check that out. Last but not least,
the world of Ahoy Comics' The Wrong Earth franchise is expanding with a new event storyline. Starting in March, The Wrong Earth will open up with a series of 5 one-shots that expand the multiverse of the series in new tales from some of comics' top talents, including Gail Simone, Mark Waid, Mark Russell, and Stuart Moore. Each of the world-shattering adventures will be 25 pages long and self-contained, contributing to a larger narrative that spills out of the pages of the core Wrong Earth series. Additionally, these issues will feature main covers by original Wrong Earth artist Jamal Igle, and alternate by Gene Ha, and variants by talents such as Dan Parent and Jerry Ordway. Okay.
And yes, there was some. We'll get to that next week probably, but I think there was something I forgot to pull. But nevertheless, it will be pressing still then not. That being said, we come to the end of another episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. One last ad read, please, sir.
Our last ad read of the night. You know what I read when it's late and I'm tired. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. It's almost Christmas, people. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, etc., or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today, please.
And holy hell, we made it to another episode of this shit show because we had some technical difficulties early in the show. So,
oh, for real?
Yes. So thankful for that. Luckily, it was early enough. We just restarted. Anyway, none of you know this. Wouldn't know that if I had not said anything. That being said, we will be back next week. Same bad time, same channel. And yes, I'm about to do the spiel. So, my name is Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Notes Need on Twitter. You can find me at CB Caps on Instagram.
I was about to say, technically not the same bad time for this week because this upcoming week, we're going to be back at our regularly scheduled day and time.
This is true. And yeah, I will probably repeat that anyway. So, it's just as well. And that has been Agent 70, who you can find on Twitter and Instagram. Our absent hosts, PC Unscared Dirt. You can find him at PC_Dirt on Twitter. You can find him at Pop Culture Net on Twitter. You can find him at popculturenetwork.com and his umbrella site therein. TimDoggg98, the Osiris of this ish. You can find him at TimDoggg98 on Twitter. You can find him at CBCron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. You can also find him at The Click Nation on Twitter. That's the KLIQNATION. But you can also find him at comicbook.com, where he's over there writing his face off. You can find this here podcast on the Cold Soldier Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You could also find us on your podcast browser place of choice, whether it be I should make a command for that actually. I think I did. Anyway, on your podcast browser place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. You can find us recording, like I just said, every Thursday night, normally Thursday nights 9:30ish p.m. on the YouTube channel of The Click Nation. That's youtube.com/The Click Nation, spelled the same way as previously mentioned, and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and hit the notification button.
Yes, and thank you for the folks that have rated us during the recording, and the folks that stuck around and or lurked or what have you during the program. Like I said, we will be back in a few days for the next episode, the pre-Christmas shenanigans. So with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Peace out to Brooklyn.